Yeah, and I'm super, super excited because all this is really quite simple. I just have to do it.
Welcome to the Experience Wellness Podcast with hosts Rebecca Hintze and Laura Jacobs. Here you'll find the ultimate guide to living healthier, feeling happier, and thriving like never before.
Hello and welcome to the Experience Wellness Podcast. I'm Rebecca Hintze. I'm here with my co-host Laura Jacobs and my amazing husband Shane Hintze. He's perfectly suited for this podcast topic today because we are going to be talking about men's health, which is such an important topic, often overlooked, especially when we're talking women. All the time we're looking into more of a women's focused approach to health and well-being. So diving in today specifically to talk about men's health is very important. So I hope you'll share this podcast with the men in your life that you love. And I hope some of the information that we share today will be key and helpful for the men that you love. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Shane.
Thank you.
How about you ask the first question to Laura, because you're the man here. What are some of the most important issues that men deal with, and how would we approach them?
Well, I think it's important to kind of set the stage. Most men are dealing with a lot of the same issues, and those issues are hypertension, ED. I'm not dealing with that one, but hypertension is one of the things I'm dealing with. Also, mood. I get affected by the weather. The sun's shining today, and thank heavens it is. But yeah, I'm looking at mood. I'm also hypertension, ED. A lot of friends are dealing with that.
And I think prostate health in general.
Prostate health is important, and then just overall well-being. Like, I don't want to grow old and lose my health. I want to be healthy and then just one day die. That would be beautiful.
I love it. Can we add one more to your list?
Yes.
Crazy epidemic levels is low testosterone.
Absolutely.
It is rampant right now.
Yes.
Yeah, we talk about women's hormones, but we forget, men have hormones too. And the balance of that is important, especially for well-being for men. Yes. So, okay, tell us, where do we go?
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Because I've been in the doTERRA world for a very long time and heard so many things about health and wellness. And for the most part, I do pretty good with that. What I have realized more recently lately, and it's been a mental shift, is everything that I'm putting into me matters more now than it did when I was young, right? So I've got to feed myself good things. I've also got to expel things. So from a nutritional standpoint, like, I'm not drinking soda anymore. But you know what?
And you don't drink alcohol.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink coffee. I don't smoke. Every once in a while, I want a hamburger. I love hamburgers. So how do I
Live
like a guy, but not die like a guy?
I don't want to,
Oh, I love that. Live like a guy, but don't die.
and I don't want to do that every day. I know I don't.
Right.
So anyway, let's talk about nutrition for a minute. What do you think the most important thing is?
Well, I would definitely lead people to other podcasts that we've done where we've really delved deeper, our foundational wellness podcast, our 90-day reset podcast, where those are not gender related topics. Those are universal. We all have things in common, and our bodies demand gut health. They demand fuel, and they demand elimination. So men are not, even though they might want to be, they do not get to escape those demands of the body. So I would say, just in quick review, because I think we could spend some time diving deeper into some actual male related topics and solutions that would be useful, but I cannot emphasize enough that if you haven't taken care of your bioterrain, then we're just chasing symptoms of where, let's just say, when you say it's more important now versus when I was younger, I think as we all age gracefully together, that we've recognized, there's some things I wish I would have done differently when I was younger. I look at in fact, I've said to my daughters multiple times, do you realize you never have to get old and wrinkled like me? because I actually know how to teach you how not to do that. But I didn't know that when I was laying out in the sun, raised in California, slathering baby oil all over my body, not to mention a few other things. That, I was ignorant. And so I love that we're in an area where our blood tests don't lie, our genes don't lie. We can pull back the hood, we can look at things that, it's amazing to have been in the health and wellness industry for 30 years. And the things you can know instantly about yourself now before we're really truly a mystery.
Well, and I think one of the biggest problems is, and this is how it was for me, I would eat a hamburger and drink a soda and fries and ketchup and everything, and I would feel, so I thought, fantastic. It's not affecting me, right? But all
All along it was affecting you? Is that what you're trying to say?
affecting me the whole time.
Truth be known.
Truth be known. And it's hard to admit that, but it is true. And we do see the impact over time. And it's just like anything. You brush your teeth one time, so you brush your teeth that day. It doesn't necessarily mean your mouth is destroyed. But you go a year and you don't brush your teeth, and wow, look at the impact that has. And you go 10 years and you don't brush your teeth, and you look at chronic disease that comes from that. That is like terrifying, not to mention the relationship impact of not brushing your teeth for 10 years. So it is important to start now when you don't even know that it's having an impact to making these correctoral changes.
Well,
So,
men are really great at taking care of their cars, typically, right? They're very attentive to the car's needs, and they recognize the level of octane in your fuel, and all these things matter. And, my husband drives a diesel truck and he has to put an additive in it, and there's lots of rules, and men understand that. So let's speak in that paradigm of what you put in your body, the type of fuel you put in actually really matters. And your margin of error when you're younger is generally greater. However, Shane, you're actually from an older generation, and there's a couple generations that have landed on the planet after you. And you know what? They don't actually have the same margin of error because their parents, like us, or our parents, got into ultra processed food. So we're just the first generation or second generation in the experiment. And now the cost that the subsequent generations are paying for our not so disciplined eating is actually pretty intense.
right? Sad.
It is.
So I'm extremely deliberate.
You are.
And I think we've set the stage very well. Like, we have to pay attention to what's going in our body. We have to pay attention to what's going on our bodies. We have to change the oil. We have to make sure there's
Exactly.
gas.
Yes.
What is that?
Like I actually once used a scrubber sponge for pans on the hood of our car,
Oh no,
permanently ruined.
I know what that means.
That's a very bad thing. But as a ignorant, we're back to ignorance, right? So to your point, to be deliberate. So again, not to dive down topics that we've already delved into beautifully and in a detailed way, go back to our foundational wellness, go back to our 90-day reset, understand the rules of the game, understand that your body has root needs, they have to be met. Your gut has to have adequate goods, water, fiber, enzymes, and probiotics to function properly. If you don't have that, all the fuel in your car, again, you could probably come up with a better fuel additive analogy than I can because I don't really understand the mechanism. But all that food you're putting in your body, one, the quality of the food matters, and then your ability to break it down and make it into fuel matters. And then you have to eliminate. So we can jump right into men's health and talk about specific solutions, but until those boxes are checked and the root needs of the body are being met, then we would be skipping over the obvious.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think a great analogy. So I know a gentleman who has hypertension, and he was on medications, and I said, rub ylang ylang over your heart. And he went to his doctor and got off his medications because he was treating a symptom. The ylang ylang was helping his heart and the blood pressure go down, but we didn't address the cause. And that's exactly what you're saying. So
Yeah.
we need
Going down to the root. And I want to just translate for our listening audience what that means as far as product. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you didn't listen to the 90-day reset program, we're looking at starting at doTERRA with some really basic products like the VMG and taking your omegas and getting started in that. Probiotics, adding in the PB Restore product, making sure you're looking at digestive health, so like the Terrazyme products, and then implementing the products so that you're eliminating. So starting with those basics, and then now we can have the conversation of, okay, for men's health, for prostate health, we use.
Now we can stand on the shoulders of the fact that we have a foundation to work with, right? Now, to hypertension, and I'm going to be very clear, in our world of natural wellness, we don't get to speak to disease states, okay? It's not in our realm of what we get to play. However, managing the pressure in our vessels is a job of a human, okay? So the first thing you'd want to manage is your metabolic health. So as much as we've checked off the list of ABCs, I don't want to have to say, well, now I got to take 20 supplements to make up for the bad diet you have. Just chill on the carbohydrates and the sugar and the ultra processed food and the soda. So I congratulate, Shane, you said I don't drink soda anymore. I congratulate you for making that decision. And although soda gives us a chemical hit and it maybe gives us a sense of energy because of the sugar and the caffeine, it does come with a price. And so as just simply put, let's just start with a cell. A cell has, for lack of a better description, the membrane itself has these little segments, okay? And if those segments get all locked up and tight, one after another, you actually create a very stiff cell. Now, if you think of a cell as a living entity, it's a microcosm of your macrocosm. It's like a respirating being, okay? So if it gets stiff, what's the chances of it taking something it needs in?
Pretty low.
Diminished. What are the chances of it getting rid of what it needs to get rid of?
Pretty low again.
Exactly. So we're just back to the car again. Can't get the fuel in, can't get the waste out, we're in trouble. So when you think of something like hypertension, diabetes, anything of that nature, you're really going back down to the core health of a cell. And we have resistance. We have situations that have occurred that can cause a radical degradation of the body's ability to flex a blood vessel and to determine pressure. So the number one solution right out of the gates, bar none, boom, especially for diastolic pressure, is omegas. So that takes us back to our foundational program. And with heart health conditions being the number one thing on the planet that continually tends to grab somebody and take them on out, it seems smart to take care of something. So omegas. If you get nothing else out of this right now today and you're starting at level 1, take omegas. The stats on what omega, they'll literally decrease your risk of dying from anything considerably. That's how important they are.
I mean, it's sort of like the engine of your car. I mean, if your engine has to run, and if you know one thing that's going to help it, actually oil does help the engine, right? But omega fatty acids and the omegas, specifically the omega doTERRA has, infused with wild orange and essential oil, we know that makes it work like 4 times more. And after staying on it 6 weeks, the studies show that it gives you back like 3 years of life or something like that.
Just incredible.
I mean, it's just incredible and published on and whatnot. We have the best omega product on the market. So you should be taking that with your VMG. Kind of covers so much ground.
Once you hit an omega index of 8 or higher, if you've come from like say a 4, you have actually reduced your risk of a fatal cardiac event, which you could come up with another word for that, by 30% just with omegas. So again, if I'm talking to a guy and I want to help him have a better quality of life, one of the very first things I'm going to encourage is omegas, because it's going to help with brain health, hormone health, cell health, heart health. And did I mention hormone health? Like, it's super, super important. You can't manufacture hormones when you don't have proper fats in the body. So, and it's also, we didn't talk about one's lipid panel, AKA cholesterol levels, which also I find for a lot of men, I've read a lot of blood panels, there's, let's just say, ratios that could be better. And one of the number one ways you can improve that is to take more omegas. So ours are 3 a day. Don't be afraid to go, that's the label recommendation. Don't be afraid to go therapeutic on yourself and hit 4 a day for your first couple months, because likely you're showing up to this game in a deficit, from your hamburger, French fry past life, right? Soda past life. Let's just knock it up. So first, foremost, basis, ABCs, and let's put an emphasis on omegas.
Can I say something on the omegas too? Our omegas taste so good that you can bite them and chew them like a gummy. And I know that sounds strange, and people are thinking, would you really do that? Yes, actually you can. You can do that. You can even bite off the tip and squeeze it out and put it into a drink and swallow it. So if you're having trouble with a pill, you can do it that way. But that just distinguishes just that factor alone, the fact that you can bite it and you can taste it and you can feel it and it doesn't stink or make you have digestive upset. I mean, that just differentiates us from anything else on the market. I would not bite into any other omega I bought from anywhere else and do that, but you can do that with doTERRA. So it is a clean product.
children are
Yes.
to this because it tastes that.
Yeah, it tastes that good.
Okay, so I want to make a clarification. We are not saying that these products are healing anything.
No.
We are giving our bodies the nutrition and the tools that it needs for our body to function properly.
Correct. And if you don't have enough omegas in your body, you're going to get stiff. Now, what happens when you're stiff? You're actually going to have a more stiff emotional posture. You're not going to be as pleasant to be around. And one of the reasons why is because your cell becomes less capable of receiving not only insulin, but glucose. And glucose is your fuel. Anybody ever met anybody who's hangry? Okay, so you could be permanently hangry when your cell does not properly receive its fuel. So omegas. Omegas. Okay.
Besides which, the brain is primarily made up of fats, and the omegas support the myelin sheath, which improves the neural connections of all your through all your synaptic junctions. And so it is just so supportive of brain and cognition.
So are you saying this could help with mood?
Absolutely. 100%. And also focus. It's especially important for anyone who's dealing with any kind of a condition related to focus and attention. You want this, and you want it at a therapeutic level, and you can give it to your children too.
In my 30 years of wellness as a professional, every single time I ever met a mom who said, can we help my kid have a better experience with focus and concentration, the number one first answer was always omegas.
Omegas.
So I'm glad you brought that up. And sometimes gentlemen would prefer to have some help there as well. Okay, so let's get into some of those maybe more masculine topics like testosterone, shall we?
Yes.
So we do have a rampant, and again, I cannot express enough, we have a rampant epidemic of low testosterone. So it might serve to understand why. Okay, so there's a myriad of reasons, and I'm not here to claim that I have all the answers, but I've got two that I think are quite interesting. Number one, our world is absolutely rampant with what we call endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they have an estrogenic nature. Now, estrogen, you're like, guys, estrogen, yeah, it's not like a woman's hormone. The answer is emphatically, it sure is. So do we want to then bombard a male body with a female hormone, especially if it's fake? Does that sound like a good idea?
No, it's actually a really bad idea.
Okay.
Do men need estrogen?
So there
Should we have a little bit?
factors, but the only time I ever go into a supplementation and essential oil in that regard is because I'm actually trying to compete in your cells with making sure you get the good stuff and we can block the bad stuff.
Perfect.
Okay, that's actually really important. So number one, way too many xenoestrogens, which means foreign, not the kind you'd make inside. Too many foreign estrogens causing estrogenic-like effects in a man's body, which wreaks havoc. Sperm count, ED, the number of male virility and fertility issues are so off the charts. They say 1 in every 2 men has challenges with fertility. That's how high this is. Okay.
Wow.
Now here's another one. You ready?
Okay.
We talked about metabolic health. We talked about hamburgers and French fries and soda, and let's just talk about the little belly. Okay, the male belly.
The male belly. It somehow grows. You're doing good. You can see all your changes. Yeah, you don't have those. It shows. Shane has made some really great progress. Good job, honey.
Really proud of him. So what happens is fat cells, especially the bad fat cells in your body, actually, this is crazy, they convert testosterone to estrogen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bigger the belly, the bigger the problem.
The bigger the boobs for the man. We get man boobs.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, so that's an indication when a man is starting to demonstrate secondary sex characteristics known as man boobs, and I'm just using the term that's common, then we're seeing an estrogen increase in the body. Okay, that's what that means.
What about for boys?
Yes,
For young boys?
absolutely.
Okay.
Same thing. Is there a boy who's eating a diet that's not metabolically healthy?
Probably most of them.
Probably most of them.
Well, and let's just say, do we really attribute it all to diet? Because now that we have generations of this kind of problem showing up, you can have young children who are showing with some of these metabolic disorders and insulin resistance, where the diet maybe even isn't that poor, but they've inherited some of this.
Oh, I got news.
So, yeah.
No kid starts at 0. No baby gets to start at 0 point. Every baby starts at whatever their parents gave them. So if we already have gene mutation and we have parents who are contributing, especially the mother's body, of the nutrition throughout the gestational period, the child could be born with a less than full tank of gas. Okay. So number number one answer to everything. We're back to hypertension. I don't care what you ask me, heart health, you name it. I'm going to bring you back to metabolic health. And we're going to have to talk about diet. And we're going to have to look at refined foods, ultra processed foods, too much sugar, too many carbs is not working. Okay? It's not working. And it's not helping a guy then as he's developing additional fat cells, especially bad fat cells, visceral fat. Those are going to convert, again, that precious hormone known as testosterone that makes you feel
Like a man.
like a man. You're not going to feel so much like a man. Okay. So that's not helpful. Now, is there any way then we could then help to improve the situation? So I already talked about what I'd like to call competitive inhibition. So a wonderful term for men and women both to learn is that we can actually bring things into the body that actually compete for the cell receptor site. All right. So we want to flood the body with the right messages. So the cells, it's kind of like a Star Trek analogy, right? It's a spaceship, it's a docking, there's docking bays for different spaceships, and let's have them all parked full of the kind of messages that we want the body to receive and block the bad messages. So even if you're still using a crummy hand soap that's a total endocrine disrupting hand soap, which I don't recommend, if we can have the body flooded with enough of the right hormone messages, we can help prevent some of these problems.
So how do we do that?
Okay, so when it comes to estrogen messaging, we need two things. We need estrogen and progesterone. So we have two oils that I have used hands down, bar none, just like track record off the charts, and it's clary sage and thyme. Okay? So I use it with men, I use it with women. Clary sage is known to have an estrogenic-like effect. And so it brings in the right messaging. As you asked before, is there such thing as right messaging? The answer is yes. Progesterone is the competing hormone with estrogen. So if we can get, there's tons of research. Oh, what is the doctor's name? It's been a minute. Lee, I think it's Dr. Lee. He did massive research to show that when men would increase the amount of progesterone entering their bodies, it would really help right size prostate scores, for example. Okay. So thyme is that oil. So this partnering between clary sage and thyme is just boom. And I like to be a little bit like, if you want to be kind of on the like intro side, we do 2 drops of each 2 times a day in a capsule. But if we want to accelerate our efforts, then I would go 4 drops twice a day in a capsule of each oil.
Okay, so let's just talk about those oils for just a minute, because thyme is a hot oil, meaning if you get it on your skin, you're going to feel it a little bit on your skin. You want to be careful with it when you're using it. So that's why you're going to put it in a capsule so that you can.
But it doesn't taste good.
And it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really taste good. And clary sage isn't impactful in that way. It's not necessarily a hot oil, but not either one of it doesn't taste good. And they're certainly not going to taste good together. So getting those blank capsules, putting the drops in, and with oils, less is more, but you do want to deliver frequently. So that's why you're looking at a couple of drops of each oil in a capsule daily. But you do want to repeat, because essential oils, hey, look, think of any over-the-counter, any prescriptive medication you take, you don't just take it once. It's not once and done. It's a repetition process. And so this is no different when you're using Mother Nature.
Well, health is math. And so your body is competing with your diet, it's competing with your mental state, because that's also affecting your chemistry. It's affecting with all the endocrine disrupting chemicals you have in your world. And if you're taking, really maintenance levels of an oil, you're not going to be at a therapeutic dosing in order to right size your life. Okay. The other thing is,
well, and can I just say before we go on, because if you're landing on this podcast, we use doTERRA essential oils on purpose, because any other essential oil brand, we would not recommend you take it internally. Actually, we wouldn't even recommend you take it. We didn't recommend you take it at all, because when we're talking about endocrine disruptors and toxicity, most of the essential oil market is adulterated. And so you have to work with a company or partner with a company that provides pure essential oils. So doTERRA does almost 100 tests on every quart of essential oils to ensure that it's safe for you to ingest. So if you've ever heard don't ingest essential oils, you're absolutely right. You should not be doing that. But with doTERRA, you can trust it because it is a therapeutic grade essential oil and has undergone the testing. I also want to point out that thyme essential oil particularly is a very strong antioxidant. So you're getting other benefits by using the thyme essential oil than just hormone support. You might find that it's very supportive to your immune system, your body overall, honestly.
There's so many reasons to take. And clary sage as well. They're actually both have a terrific affinity for brain health. Yeah. So we're only focused on this. I 100% withdraw all my essential oil recommendations for anything unless we're talking about doTERRA oils, because if they're not pure, they could actually be harmful and not helpful. You're actually just adding another chemical to the soup in there. As far as dosing goes, the amount and the frequency, because you could go to, if you want to go to a real therapeutic level, you could go 2 drops 4 times a day, 4 drops 4 times a day when you want to get more aggressive. That's because oils actually have a half-life. Did you know that? Did you know the half-life of cinnamon is about 30 minutes? The half-life of lavender is about 4 hours, and the half-life of copaiba is about 12 hours. So if you don't, it depends on, so there's actually a curve of saturation. We call it saturation. So if you can get your oils in and you maintain a level of saturation, that's what we're achieving. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so now you can see why, if I could really talk you into 4 times a day, it's ideal, because if the half-life of an oil is 4 hours and you're taking it 8 hours apart, then again, 2 times a day minimum. Right. All right, so health is MAC. Yeah. All right, so again, we're going to create competitive inhibition. We're going to bring in the clary sage to bring in right sizing on the estrogen. We're going to bring in the thyme because progesterone is a counterbalancing hormone for the xenoestrogens or the estrogens that are being produced by the body. That's going to be a humdinger. Most especially, I'm focusing there when it comes to prostate health. Okay, that's like my 2 favorite things. And what I do is I recommend our basic wellness program, the ones we've discussed already that Rebecca has been so beautiful to summarize. And then these oils would sit on the shoulders of that. They would not replace it. It's not one without the other. Okay.
I love that. And I do have to say something. I'm actually really excited about this personally, and I'm not going to tell you all my medical issues, but I'm super excited about it. And if you're a guy, you're probably watching this or listening to this because a woman introduced you to this podcast, right? And what I'm hearing is, yes, I'm going to worry about my nutrition. I'm going to put really, really good things in me. I'm going to watch my diet. I'm going to avoid certain things. But there's also a really easy way to get these building blocks you need for heart health, for hypertension. And the woman, the lady, the person who invited you to this podcast probably has those little essential oils sitting in their cabinet.
It's probably already in your
And
house.
it's so easy to get to. So why would you go searching for other ways to get these tools when they're right there in your house?
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to just like kind of lay out what you take. So just write this down if you're listening. So you do want to have the VMG. You want to start that. If you're in a area of the world that doesn't sell that product yet, the Lifelong Vitality Pack is great. You can do that as well.
Either way, you're getting those omegas.
Either way, you're getting the omega.
Well, actually, that's not true.
Yeah,
buy that.
the VMG in the United States with the VMG product, because it's a powder and you mix it into a liquid, which by the way, great to have fiber in that too. If you have that in the market you're in, then add your omega separately. But if you're buying the Lifelong Vitality Pack wherever you are, that comes with the omega in it. So that's your base. Okay.
Yep.
If you're looking at adding all your gut microbiome stuff, so your PBSS, your PB Restore, and your Terrazyme, and you can select on that, but definitely, if you're going to eliminate one of those, don't eliminate the PB Restore, because that is a building block.
You have to have, I only need one of our probiotic products, right? So PB Restore is our standard. PB Assist is gut microbiome probiotics only, and it's a fantastic product. It's really yummy. It's like a pixie stick, like a kid. But our general diehard gold standard is PB Restore because it's far more robust and it's taking care of 5 biomes in the body, microbiomes, not just one.
Right. The Zendocrine products is important too. And we talked about caffeine, but we really didn't talk about alcohol, and we don't need to go into it so much. But look, alcohol is toxic and the labeling is coming out for that now, and really it doesn't serve you at all. So not only are you looking at an elimination of caffeine and a better diet, but also an elimination of alcohol. And the Zendocrine can help with that detoxification that comes with the liver that's been impacted by years of drinking. So
years of sugar,
years of sugar. Yeah, right. So Zendocrine is going to be really important for that. So VMG or LLV, your PB Restore, making sure your omegas are checked, and your Zendocrine product. And now you're coming complex with Zendocrine complex. And now we're looking at, for men, and especially for prostate support or hormone support, the clary sage and the thyme, couple drops of each in a blank capsule maybe even up to 4 times a day.
Yeah, you decide, you know where you're at. Like if a man's had like his PSA tested, he can decide what level of assertiveness he wants to take, the approach that he wants to take in order to decide how much to use with these 2 oils.
Right. Okay, I have a question for you though.
Something here really quick, because we're still on the oils. I know that clove is the highest substance for antioxidants in the world.
It is. Same with
And thyme is kind of like right behind it.
So you're putting these into your body. Now you're talking about cellular health, like
Well, and you even see thyme in
crazy way.
some of our other cellular products it plays such a key role. So this is so good. Question I have for you though, because this does come up a lot with boys, young boys, and the same with girls who are menstruating early, young boys who are coming to the game obese through their through that whole change of seasons for them in their early years, and developing the man boobs when they're 12 and 13. And so how young would you give a capsule of this to, and how much would you look at for?
I mean, I got my kids swallowing pills when they were like 4, but yeah, that was me. I started with something smaller and then I'd teach them to master it. You know, obviously we're going by body size. So a full adult body weight we consider to be 110 pounds. So that would be full dosing. And then if you're going into like a 12-year-old, not necessarily half weight, but you know, you just kind of go by age and size and go half weight, quarter weight. And obviously these particular oils would be a little bit more difficult with a child if they can't swallow a pill, because the taste is, there's definitely an aversion. So, but would I hesitate with a teenage young man or woman? Not at all, because again, if we flip this story into a female hormone story, guess what? We'd be talking about the same 2 oils, because we have the exact same 2 needs. We need a right size estrogen and progesterone in the body.
Okay. That's great. I love that conversation. Okay. So did we hit, I wanted to say to you on the hypertension though, just coming back to that and just supporting heart health in general. I love that you did bring up Lang Lang. We didn't talk about that, but I think for men and just supporting heart health, everything that we have said is supportive of heart health. Even the essential oils we talked about ingesting are supportive of heart health. But applying a Lang Lang on the chest and bottoms of the feet is great for sleep, stress, and just helping to manage that. Very. So I love that you brought that up, Shane.
Very calming.
It's very flowery, but it's a nice set. I do like it.
It's lovely. Well, it's fun that we're there because you brought up ED, right? And men prefer to be a performing male versus a non-performing. And so guess what we need? Testosterone. We need testosterone. We also do see a decrease in sex drive in these particular arenas as well, right? When people don't feel well and their chemistry is not working right. And so ylang-ylang is actually a fantastic aphrodisiac. So it's a twofer because it's actually one of the top oils for testosterone. Now, I got a tip for you. If it's too flowery for you, you can actually add it to the capsule. Okay, these oils are all FDA approved labels. Clary sage, thyme, and ylang-ylang can all go in a capsule, and they can do a world of good. There's different methods of application create different types of stimulation in the body. So don't hesitate. In fact, I would recommend it. Even if you want to wear it and slather it as you've recommended, it does smell amazing to me.
And still take it internally?
I would still take it internally because you would get a lot of benefit. So if we want to work the aphrodisiac route, we want to work testosterone, blood pressure, any of those things are all going to be benefited by the ylang-ylang. Now, my number one favorite oil, bar none, hands down, heaven's open, is black spruce.
Oh, who knew? That's like I didn't.
So amazing.
But I can see you loving that.
Now, is that more of a guy smell than ylang-ylang?
It is.
Okay, so we're onto something here. All right. So in all my research of essential oils, which is extensive, black spruce really shines. But again, right behind it, you've got the ylang-ylang for testosterone, and then also sandalwood. Sandalwood is also a very male, it smells woodsy, so can imagine mixing. I mean, you're going to smell like a tree. A guy would much rather smell like a tree than a flower.
You could mix all 3 of them.
You could.
The 3 together.
Even the ylang-ylang.
Yeah. Ylang-ylang, sandalwood, and black spruce.
Yeah.
We're not talking about taking sandalwood and black spruce in a capsule.
So the only oil of the stars that we've talked about so far that is not labeled for internal consumption is the black spruce. The sandalwood is acceptable, and could also easily be taken. It's the viscosity is much more thick, so it's kind of a pain to hello, drop into the capsule. I don't have all day. So there's that. So that might be a little bit more impatient, but so you have 2 significant hormone points on your body from a reflexology standpoint. and they have to do with, I'll call them ankle bone regions. So it's very graceful for me to stick on my foot and say, here it is. But right here under this ankle bone and under this ankle bone, this represents the region for the male gonads and the prostate.
Okay.
So if I were to stand up, prostate, gonads, uterus, ovaries, same thing. Ovaries, uterus, inside, outside.
Okay.
So these oils can also be placed topically. So I actually use one of our doTERRA blends, and I just put it on right here on my wrist. And within 30 minutes, I can tell a hormone change in my body.
Ooh, I love
So I just want you to know the power of topical
Okay.
application. So if it were me and I were a guy and I were impatient, I would probably be putting the black spruce and the sandalwood on topically.
And the
If you give it the ylang-ylang, great, do it. You could make up your own roll-on blend so you don't have to open 3 caps and just put it on like your new men's cologne. And then I would include that ylang-ylang internally. And if you want to really spike up the aphrodisiac angle, these are all players there. Cinnamon is also a tremendous aphrodisiac oil. Okay. And so it could also be added to the blend. And guess what else it's really good for? You heard me, metabolic health.
because of the
Right?
fat.
Right?
Would you put the cinnamon in a capsule too?
I would.
Okay. And I love that for metabolic health.
Yeah. And it tastes amazing. Like, lick it.
Yeah.
It's actually sweet. It's hot. Like,
It
remember the toothpicks when we were a kid?
Yeah.
Like, it's that on steroids.
If you do that though, I would, especially with thyme in the capsule, I would take this capsule with food, or I would take it with the Digest N capsule too. Wouldn't you say?
I would also swallow it immediately because the cinnamon was a dark veggie fat in a hot fat. It's going to be all over your hand.
Yeah, don't make these capsules and leave them sitting on the counter.
No.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the clary sage and thyme. So we're right sizing estrogen and progesterone. That was our first topic, which is particularly important for the prostate health and secondary sex characteristics and management of that. Our next topic was really getting in testosterone, which again, we've talked about the competition with the visceral fat, metabolic health being so important, as well as just bringing more testosterone support to the body. And we've mentioned the ylang-ylang, the black spruce, and the sandalwood being 3 key, essential oil players, and then spiking it with the cinnamon because it's an aphrodisiac and because it's fantastic for metabolic health.
Can I ask a question, which would be around weight loss for men? Because we talked about the belly. Would you add in the MetaPower blend or grapefruit to help with that?
You certainly could. In fact, a little bit gentler version to thyme is grapefruit. So grapefruit also helps to boost progesterone health in the body, and it's fantastic for metabolic health. Now we have a blend that contains the cinnamon and the grapefruit and a couple others. That's our MetaPower blend. Not to get too crazy on people, but if that's something that they need to work on, that would be another option.
Yeah.
And it could certainly be added, or it could be a trade with the grapefruit.
I'm leaning into the whole MetaPower system.
Now I'm going to say, I just gave you an option, but I'm going to stand still on my thyme. My thyme oil, THYME, is dependable and it's powerful.
And we're paring down to the basics. We're coming back again to the VMG or the LLB, making sure the omegas are present, the PB restore, and the endocrine complex, and the clary sage and thyme in a capsule.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you've heard a lot of other great tips.
Okay, so then we've got testosterone and aphrodisiacs, which is very important. Okay. I think another area that a lot of men don't understand is what's called DHT, or dihydroxytestosterone. And this is not the right kind of testosterone. So kind of like for women, we got too little of the right thing and too much of the wrong thing. With estrogen, we have the same thing going on with men, where we have epidemic levels of low testosterone and epidemic levels of too high of the wrong testosterone, which is DHT, or dihydroxytestosterone. How would you know if that were your story? You have male pattern baldness, and you'd have nighttime urination.
I have one of those too.
So if you would like to reckon with both of those, hands down, bar none, rosemary oil. Okay, so if you find yourself getting up in the night and urinating, I highly recommend you go get your PSA tested. Okay, it's an indication your prostate might need more love. And so let's get that reckoned with. Meanwhile, get that rosemary oil going. And I've had men tell me just in days that it's made such a difference for them with nighttime urination.
Does it work for women too? Because that is an issue for women, is right?
It's a little bit of a different story,
but I don't want to make this women,
but we're also talking male pattern baldness,
right?
Then the rosemary is going to be, again, my first and foremost oil that I'm going to turn to, because of its impact with the dihydroxytestosterone levels. And so it's the first oil we reach to for hair, and that's topical and internal both. Okay, it's fantastic.
Which you can also put in your shower and just put a drop in your shampoo and add it in and use it that way for your hair. For your
It smells amazing, in my opinion.
And it's great for respiratory health as well. So when you're in the shower, you have that steam and you're using it in your shampoo. You're going to really love it. You're going to feel a bit like you were in the spa. Wonderful. Yeah, I love it.
So I think if you were to say, Laura, what are the top things you see men dealing with other than we see everything dealing with, which is metabolic health, the belly, those kinds of things, that my heart aches for men at what it means to be low testosterone. One of the number one symptoms is actually depression. It has massive impact on mood. They just don't feel alive and well. And so it just is so unkind to keep going in this world where men are not feeling like men. And you got to have your testosterone level. And we women too, by the way, if you're low in testosterone as a woman, one of your number one indicators is you won't have a get up and go. It's what, like, all of us are like, I'm gonna make this happen. That's like your testosterone, but it's also sex drive. It's true for all of us. And so a lot of the things we've talked about, as you've asked, are wonderful for both men and women. So I like people to feel alive and well, and then who wants to get up in the night and go pee unnecessarily? That's not helpful. So these are really my favorite solutions for
and that disrupts sleep, but which disrupts mood. And I just want to point out that the oils that you picked as I'm listening to you are also very highly researched in the mental health field. So if you were to pull up any studies on rosemary, what it does for the brain and for memory and focus and attention, or clary sage is one of the very best. Some of these are the highest researched essential oils for the brain, for brain function and mood. And then we talked about the omegas and brain. So you're going to see that using this protocol is also going to help you with mood. Definitely, you brought that up with the sunshine and the need for that. You're going to see your mood enhanced and brain function, and also prevention of some of the issues that do happen when the brain starts to fall apart, which happens in time.
Well, what we don't recognize is so much of what's wrong in all these areas. And again, we don't have to get into the weeds of disease names, nor do we get to be in a world that allows us to really talk that way. But they all come back to root causes.
Yes,
they all do. And so if we can work here, then a lot of these things will just simply dissipate. Like we're talking with ED, we're talking changes in microcirculation. You have to have blood flow to all your body parts in order for them to perform right. So if you want to have more circulation there, then you need to take care of your metabolic health. It's imperative. I was going to ask you, when you're talking about rosemary, would you say that mental fatigue is something that's common amongst your peers? Do they feel overwhelmed mentally or tired, or do you see people problem solving?
I would say that it probably is extremely rampant.
Okay.
But men don't talk about it.
Exactly. Sadly.
Well, so I will tell you a behavioral thing that that you see men doing, and that is the self-medication of stress coming through alcohol. And I know I keep coming back to alcohol, but men are the ones who are big drinkers. Well, women can drink, but men are big drinkers. And you go by a bar at night, they're out drinking with the buddies. And a lot of the reason why men do drink is they're self-medicating their stress. And they show up at the bar to relax and to calm down, and they use alcohol for that reason. And there are a lot of biological factors for that. But let's just say we all know alcohol is not a great way to self-medicate.
So it also changes the sex drive too. So yeah, they might appreciate the benefits of that. The reason why I brought that up is not to like make people go, oh my gosh, so much stuff, but just to be like, just in case you want to be excited that a rosemary oil might just be there with you at night. It's also the number one oil for mental fatigue. So in adrenal fatigue, like it just goes on and on in respiratory. So we're only mentioning these players and the roles they can play within a certain lane. But just know that these are very special vehicles, and they actually drive in 5 to 10 lanes at the same time. And there's just a number of positive effects that you're going to experience outside of the designation that we're aiming at.
Basically, we're looking at a domino where, you know how it is, you knock over the first domino, the rest of them knock down. We're talking about products that are the start of the domino to knock down all of them to help you with your health and wellness.
Yeah, and I'm super, super excited because all this is really quite simple. I just have to do it. If I stay active, if I eat right, I give my body the tools it needs through nutrition, through essential oils, my body can perform at a very high level.
And you can live a long time. So happy about that. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Experience Wellness podcast. We love you, and we hope that you'll share this podcast with someone who needs this message. We are here to help you in your health and wellness journey. Thanks, Shane, for being here with us today. And thank you again, our listeners. We'll see you next time on the Experience Wellness Podcast.
Bye.